What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here at GSD Studios. Thank you so much for checking out today's show. I'll make this extremely fast, but I need to plug our sponsor that's making today's show possible. Our sponsor today is OptimizedLifeNutrition.com with their supplement EMF. EMF stands for Energy, Memory, Focus. This is the most powerful nootropic on the marketplace. If you are like me and you're serious about having maximum amounts of energy, extreme laser focus, if you want to go out there and eliminate your brain fog, be at your best, and as well as there's proven ingredients to increase your long-term memory, then this product's for you. Check out more information, see client testimonials at www.optimizedlifenutrition.com. All right, you guys, let's dive on in today's content. All right, what it is, everybody, Joshua Smith here with another weekly episode of Ask Jim J and Dr. Aaron Grossman. Unfortunately, Jim is... I don't know what Jim's up to tonight. Yeah, they had some technical issues, but we got the amazing Dr. Aaron Grossman here, owner of Chet, who is actually, I know we talk about this a lot, but Jim J and I are all patients of him, or of his organization, of his company. They do a brilliant, amazing job. And Jay Campbell. So we're ready to rock and roll. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and welcome to the show.
Good to be here, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely good. It's been a couple weeks. We've been all busy as hell in our lives, and we're all excited about doing some new projects, which we can talk about maybe at some point in the show starting tomorrow. But I'll be flying out to Phoenix, and so will Jim, and then Aaron's going to be flying out, I think, on Sunday. So, yeah, we're ready to roll. Let's talk.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So, one thing that we get a lot of is now it's kind of, I don't want to say it's comical to me now, but when I hear it, I'm kind of like, like, why does this keep coming up? But when I first met you, Jay, I mean, I was this guy, right? Because when you started talking, I met you, I was having massive, I wouldn't say massive, but I wasn't getting the energy that I knew I should be having with the way that I was taking care of my body and with my age. And when you first talked about TRT, the first thing that popped in my mind was steroids, right? I'm like, nah, dude, man, I eat clean. I'm not about putting, a lot of, I don't know, shit into my body. Right.
Sure.
But it's something that, we get all the time, man. It's when people hear TRT, I think they just have the stigma that it means anabolic steroids, abuse. A lot of people, seem to have a concern about it, and not just with a lot of the guys, but a lot of like guys' wives. Right. And I don't know if they really know the difference. I know we talk about TRT a lot, but I was just thinking that we should just go deep on just kind of dispelling some of maybe the myths that people have, the difference between abuse and doing it the right way. And I know we always talk about the benefits of TRT, but maybe we can go deep into the negative side effects of these people, these athletes, or whomever, not just athletes. I think it's probably more non-athletes, just dudes looking for aesthetics that are abusing it. Just kind of the havoc that wreaks in their body.
So I'll start us off, and, I'm going to kind of set Aaron up because he is the doctor, not just on the internet, but in reality. But so there's a huge difference or differentiation for what, Josh and Aaron and Jim and I espouse, in our Facebook, in our writings, in our, broadcast, podcast, interviews, all these things between performance enhancement, which is the usage of anabolic steroids, and testosterone replacement therapy, which is what, we're an advocate of, an optimized lifestyle. It's a huge difference. And I think a lot of people get confused because, especially as you said, Josh, wives, hear the idea that their husband wants to take testosterone, and they immediately, jump to conclusions and rush to thought processes of, oh my God, my husband's using steroids. What should I do? And again, a lot of this is, perpetrated or propagated by the media and the demonization of testosterone, from a life extension standpoint, from a health and optimization standpoint. And most people really don't know the difference. And so I think this is going to be a good show today to really, expound on that, to let Aaron talk about that. And obviously, I'll kick in. I mean, there's 2 chapters in my book that go over this, that hammer this home and really try to make this point as salient as possible. But what we talk about is literally the usage of testosterone at a super micro clinical level dosage to get a person back to the midline and higher, okay? When someone uses anabolic steroids, and that can be way more than just testosterone, we're talking about males and females that are using it way beyond at a higher level of dosage than what we talk about. So yes, they are taking what is known as supraphysiologic dosages of these drugs. A lot of the times, these drugs are not legal. They're not written by pharmacies or compound pharmacies. They're literally gray market, black market, brewed up in some guy's basement, and sold, online or international or wherever. I mean, a lot of these guys manufacture this stuff or create this stuff themselves. They buy bulk product online from China and Australia, and they ship it to themselves, and then they go and they try to play a chemist. But that's nothing, again, that stuff is not what we're about, okay? We are about using testosterone, metformin, maybe thyroid hormone or thyroid medications, other medications to optimize, to get people back to where they're midline and higher, what we call that optimized level. Not a guy who's taking 2 grams a week of testosterone plus other anabolic or synthetic drugs that I won't mention, and trying to build muscle and gain 30 or 40 pounds and look like a bodybuilder or whatever. Or, and then I'm not even going into like sports performance enhancement, which is very big too. But do you want to add something to that, Aaron?
No, that was, you put it excellently, and your book does a very good job of describing the difference between the supraphysiologic and the physiologic dosages. And we focus on really is we want to mimic the body's natural levels as much as possible, which is, the multiple week injections, the specific amounts. And when you have, people taking these quote unquote real steroid stacks, these anabolic steroid stacks, they're taking levels that are affecting them on a multi-organ level. So they're going to start getting, hypercardio. They're going to get cardiomyopathy, hypertrophy. They're going to have internal organs being affected. They're going to have intense malignant hypertension. I mean, these guys are taking ester blends that they don't really know what's in it, and they're probably not having blood work at the same time or doing it them all themselves, if they're lucky, and getting something that's a sterile batch. So it is a huge issue. It's a lot of guys that come in, especially, guys in their 30s or 40s that messed around with this stuff in their 20s and squeeze the bag, as my buddy that's he's an acute care specialist in Chicago. And he has this analogy where your body has all these bags of chemicals and you can only squeeze it so much, and you're just blasting this bag and it takes so long to fill up. Same thing with your pituitary gland, your testicles. You're blasting them with these super physiological hormones, and they're not going to be able to recover at these levels.
Right. Well said. Yeah. I mean, did you want to add something, Josh, before I jump in?
Nope. You go ahead, man.
So, yeah. So, I mean, there's so many different drugs. I mean, I don't want to spend this whole show talking about all these different drugs. All of us are aware, we've been in the gym, as some guys call it, or some physicians call it, locker room culture, gym culture. Most of the people that watch our show and that are familiar with our show in the GSD, in the TRT revolution, optimized life, check ecosystems, are familiar with this kind of stuff. But there are numerous other drugs, okay, that people take that are, again, not essentially available from a clinical prescription perspective. I'm talking about like oxandrolone, which is a street name of Anavar. There's Winstrol, which, believe it or not, I was looking at this the other day, Aaron. Winstrol and Anavar by Searle or oxandrolone, they're still out there. They're still actually clinically available for certain, diagnoses. I know stunted growth for children, and then there's something for Winstrol weirdly out there still too. But bottom line, most of these drugs that other people are taking, or that other guys talking about, they talk about taking a stack. My anabolic steroid stack. Okay, they're taking drugs that are literally illegal. Okay, they don't have a prescription for them. They don't have a clinical diagnosis. So they're just literally shotgunning, as you said, Aaron, squeezing the bag, multiple drugs, some of which are not controlled by the United States FDA and DEA from a dosage standpoint.
Or USDA.
Yeah, the USDA too, right? There's a lot of Nazis involved. But at the end of the day, it's like the health risks, and I want to make this very, very serious. the health risks that you're putting on your body, okay, especially taking drugs that you have no idea where they're coming from, you have no idea the quality control, is high risk. And as Aaron said very appropriately, you are literally playing Russian roulette with so many different biological systems. Okay, you're whacking your HDL levels most likely. If you're taking oral steroids, you're doing stuff that's really degrading to your lipid panel. I mean, to your hepatic function, which is your liver panels. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff that can happen. And, you know, I'm not here to say that certain guys who are professional bodybuilders, who are professional athletes, weightlifters, international track and field competitors. You know, some of these people obviously use these medications to get a competitive advantage, and we're not here to judge them, okay? But if you're just a regular Joe, you're a realtor, you're an entrepreneur, you're some guy who's making money, and you're trying to build your physique, all you really need to do it right, to do it, you know, safely, is testosterone. You know, or a drug that can stimulate your body's natural production of testosterone. You just don't need to take all of these quote unquote shotgun medications at super physiologic dosages, which puts your body and your health at serious risk.
Well, let's just kind of elaborate on that too, because when you talk about getting a great body and getting in shape, all you need is testosterone. Like, you can't just take testosterone and get a great body, right? I mean, you got to work your ass off in the gym.
Absolutely.
You got to eat very clean. You know, I always get a kick out of when people are like, oh man, you know, that guy's in great shape just because he's on some shit, right? Well, he could be on some shit, but he's working his ass off, right?
Well said. Well said. Yeah, most people are utterly confused about that. Most people, you know, we've talked about this. I don't want to change the topic because this is good and this is good, intense stuff we're talking about right now. But you're right, Josh. I mean, the average person has no idea the intensity necessary, required to actually change your, you know, skeletal mass, to add muscle. So you're right. I mean, most people, you know, could take whatever and never look any better. There's obviously many components. There's diet, there's exercise, there's cardiovascular. You know, there's many different things to this. But, you know, to kind of stay on topic here, I think it's really important that people that are watching this show realize that every time you play Russian roulette with your body, when you take these other things, you are absolutely 100% without question, unequivocally putting your health at risk, okay? You are trashing. If you take oxandrolone, okay, even if you're taking a super low dose of oxandrolone, which is Anabar, street name Anabar, and I'm for like a man that's like 25 or 30 milligrams, for a woman that's like 5 or 10 milligrams, you're altering your body's lipid levels. You are changing the ratios on your HDL and your LDL, okay? Now, no one really knows if it's permanent alteration, if it's transient alteration. It just is an alteration. So the reality is you got to be really, really careful. If this is the kind of stuff that you're going to engage in, just realize that there's a lot of risk. And again, this is not what we advocate. Aaron is not going to write anybody a script for Anabar. Okay, it's not going to happen. If there are doctors out there that are writing scripts for this for, you know, aesthetic purposes, and they're breaking the law. You want to say something on that, Aaron?
Well, you know, there's this whole subculture that I'm finding out about really from having these conversations with clients. It's this like blast and cruise lifestyle where they're going through and you know, okay, I'm going to do 125 milligrams of Prop every other day, which is super physiological. Right. Then I'm going to switch to Anavar, then the clone. I mean, the real issue here is you're committing to that momentum. You're really Icarus flying to the sun with waxed wings at this point. So, and then you're just going to come off it. I mean, that's not the proper mindset. I mean, you can do that, but it's not something you're going to be able to gradually come back from, and hope to maintain those gains of the super physiological levels.
I mean, I always like to preface this because I know we have some high level people that are in the, you know, fitness world, the bodybuilding community, pros, like we do. We have some guys that watch us, and, you know, props to you guys. If you're a professional bodybuilder, okay, and you're literally trying to get on the Olympia stage, and your livelihood depends on how big and aesthetic and you are, then, you know, if you're going to take these drugs in super physiologic dosages, and we're not just talking about anabolic steroids, right? We're talking about massive amounts of growth hormone, you know, using insulin, all these different things, then you know what, man, that's your choice. it's your living, it's your livelihood. Some of those guys, you win the Olympia, it's $350,000 plus all these other things, contracts. It's probably worth $1 million. Okay. But outside of that, and again, and I don't want to lose sight of this, you're still putting your body at massive risk. But again, outside of that, if you're not one of those people, you're a fireman, you're a cop, you're somebody who's just trying to improve their body, guys, you got to take this stuff into consideration, man. You are seriously putting your health at risk. Taking super physiologic dosages, taking orals, taking them for a long time, continuously, regularly, buying from people that have, zero reputability or credibility, buying products that you have no quality control understanding of. I mean, it's the game. It's the world that we live in. I get all these things, but, we want to make it very clear. We don't advocate this. This is not the lifestyle we espouse. We espouse an optimized lifestyle, which is, a clinical dosage of whatever it is based on a clinical need, found through blood tests, with check with whomever you get your blood work, whether it's your primary care physician. I mean, it's very important that guys understand this and women understand this, especially wives of guys that watch the show, that when their husband says, oh, honey, I'm using testosterone, they don't immediately jump to conclusions and flip out and think that they're doing something that's like high risk to their health. Because I'm telling you, 100 milligrams, 150 milligrams, 200 milligrams a week of testosterone, you can literally do it for 40, 50, even fucking 60 years, okay? And if you live a lifestyle that we espouse, which is a clean lifestyle, you eat clean, you exercise, pretty vigorously, both cardiovascularly and weight training wise, it is quote unquote an elixir of the gods. It will slow down your aging process. It will reduce inflammation. You will live a longer life, and you won't be, pill fucked or like most people who are addicted to all the, chemical means of modern medicine. So just try to keep that, I'm trying to be as elaborate as I can here, but just try to keep this in balance when you watch this video, or if you're watching live right now, that we are not espousing a lifestyle of performance enhancement. This is optimization. There's a huge difference.
I really want to harp on something you said, because it's really the key is this is not only is it not super physiologic, but those amounts that you mentioned are specifically tailored to mimic your body's natural levels. And once you're off that rhythm, you have to be put back on that rhythm. You're not going to function properly. I'm actually all for athletes taking, I wouldn't say super physiological levels, but I think they should have access to cannabis. Right. I think they should have access to TRT regularly. I think it's immoral to not, with the strain they're putting on their body, I'd be shocked if everyone in the UFC and the NFL and MLB wasn't on all these compounds.
Well, there's no doubt the NFL, these guys are on. It's all a dirty little secret. The NFL is I just looked at that the other day. It's so mind-blowing. It's like a $16 billion annual industry.
Non-profit, too.
Billion. Right.
Yeah.
So, so that's a great point, Aaron. There's something to be said about that guys get lost in that concept, about that whole well, I got to stay on it. Again, if you're in a big city and you're aging and you're, living a hard, entrepreneur hustle grind lifestyle, the likelihood that you're going to be decreasing, your testosterone is going to be decreasing, is legitimately probably what, Aaron, 90%?
Guaranteed at a certain point now. Yeah.
Right. We can't even factor any of that stuff in. So again, our point is, if you're one of those guys and you're scared shitless and you don't want to replace your body's natural production, you don't have natural production, or it's cessating or declining at rapid levels. This is something you really have to focus and look into, but don't be hesitant or intimidated or, hesitating because of the fact that you think of it's cheating or it's using anabolics. It's not. This is a huge difference.
That's an incredible segue because this comes up a lot as far as two things. Two most common questions that come up: am I going to have to be on this forever? And the wife or family's reaction to the compounds themselves. So I'd love to go over some of those type of things.
Let's do it. And we actually just got a great question, Josh. Did you see that?
No, it's not showing up on my feed.
Okay, I'll read it out. It's from Dennis Montani. What's up, Dennis? So it's perfect, Aaron. He says, on TRT, what would be a good yearly template of tests, exams to bring to one's cardiologist to stay proactive against possible changes? And then he says echocardiogram Holter monitor, stress tests, calcium score, etc.
Is that, can you read, so that's just for the cardiac aspect of things? Or?
I think so. He says to bring to his cardiologist.
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely if you have a family history, I mean, you got to be honest with yourself. So have you been eating like shit for the last 40 years? Have you had any prior incidents of cardiac issues? You know, do you have a history of hypercholesteremia in your family? You know, the most important thing to really look at, and no one will talk about, is your triglyceride to HDL ratio. So if you're consistently above a 2-to-1 triglyceride to HDL ratio, and your HDL will not become cardioprotective till it hits about 60. So, I mean, ideally you want to be about 50. That's optimal for HDL. But once you get above 60, then it becomes cardioprotective, unless they found this new enzyme, this new genetic mutation where HDL actually can cause more heart disease in some people, and it doesn't make a cardioprotective difference. But depending on your age, you definitely want to go, get checked out as regards to, an EKG and echocardiogram at least once to find out what's going on. I had one done, when I was young. They found a minor, congenital defect, nothing, that a large proportion of the population has, but you never would know, that if you have it or not. Looking at, you might want to get like a VAP or a cholesterol panel, but I wouldn't go crazy with the cardiology side of things, because they can, they can find some false positives. You don't want to really go down that rabbit hole, especially from, stents and arrhythmias. But, how do you know you don't have atrial fibrillation? It's very common. You might need to be put on aspirin. We get a lot of clients that find out they have that for the first time, and you're going to take, thyroid medication. That's a risk, if you have an atrial fibrillation taking a thyroid medication. So that's an excellent question.
Yeah, it is a good question. And I would like to seek it by saying, like, look, one of the reasons that we promote Check, and that, all of us are using Aaron and Check, is that, the tests, the automation of all the things that they do. I mean, this is the kind of stuff, these are the kind of feedback when they look at your panels on a 3 times or 4 times or twice yearly schedule, that they're going to, be able to advise you and say, hey, look, based on this, we might think you might want to go talk to somebody. Okay. So there's peace of mind. You're not just shotgunning bullshit without a physician, without any kind of feedback. Obviously you don't have a script, so you're already breaking the law most likely. So again, you really want to think about, if you're somebody that takes seriously about optimization and optimizing your life from a hormonal optimization standpoint, this is a company and a physician and obviously his staff of people that you really want to highly think about. I know we see a lot of people complaining about how Check is more expensive, or they're the most expensive, or they're high line, but it's not. I mean, when you factor in the amount of money that you waste in your life for nonsense, like going to Starbucks or fucking In-N-Out, or just buying bullshit, that you don't need or want. I mean, this is the most important stuff. I mean, you only have one life, right? You only have one body in this life. So it's like, why is that not your priority number one? I mean, it is for all of us. I mean, there's no reason that anybody watching this can't make it the same way.
We don't advertise that. I appreciate the kind words, Jay. We don't really advertise this, but we know a lot of people do not have, decent access with insurance. So we do have an infrastructure in place if people need ultrasounds, mobile x-rays, EKGs. We can get them pretty much anywhere nationally if anyone's interested in needing to get an EKG or something like that. It's a pretty easy process. We can do the reading and everything.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, you pay for what you get, dude. I mean, it's just what it boils down to, man. I think, Jay and I have both worked with some of the chop shops out there, and you pay for what you get, man. I mean, you want to go eat the $1 cheeseburger at McDonald's, or am I going to go to True Foods and get a nice, kale salad? I'm going to pay $30 there, but dude, I don't know. I can't get over that whole mindset that people have, dude.
Well, yeah, go ahead, John.
I would just almost like to put like this like financial challenge out there. Like anybody that bitches about the price, like I'd almost be willing to do a financial budget with you and show you where you can fucking create the money. I mean, it's such a damn cop out.
Well, it's funny because what's happening now, the book is getting so much traction. I'm getting people like very heavy hitters, like Aaron, you're going to get a new patient in a day or so. The guy is literally, let me put my tinfoil hat on. The guy is literally like the second guy at the Rockefeller organization in DC and New York City. And I had a phone consult with him 2 days ago. He's a really awesome guy. His name's Clay. I can't think of his last name right now, but Clay will reach out to you. He's going to work with you. But here's the situation. This is why this is the perfect seed. If you work with your primary care physician, or you work with a quote-unquote chop shop, a doc in the box, a clinic, a low T center, I mean, you're not going to get, this is reality here. We're talking hardcore, serious shit right now. You're not going to get what you probably need from a standpoint of all the things that we espouse, all the things that we talk about, all the things written in my book, all the stuff that Aaron goes through. And then you're going to be playing Russian roulette with your health, okay? Because it's, this is, and Aaron knows this, and he doesn't have any problem with me saying this, 90% of doctors in North America today, and this is probably 99% of doctors globally, have absolutely no idea what they're doing when they start writing scripts for hormones, okay? So if you understand that, then you get, just like Josh said, you get what you pay for. That's just what's going to happen. You're going to go down a path where they're going to fuck you up, and then you got to get unfucked, to quote Alexander, and then getting unfucked can cost so much more money because you never went down the path the right way. I mean, this is not, a simple, I wish it was, but it's not. It's not a simple solution to balance a male or a female endocrine system from the start. And if you, as Josh said, if you choose low cost, quackery, whatever you want to define it, you're going to go down that path. I mean, it's literally like what, Aaron, 95% likely you're going to go down that path of having to be unfucked?
Well, this is how real it is. I mean, there's 500 people today minimum that will die because of iatrogenic disease. They'll die from the medical system. It's the third or fourth leading cause of death. I mean, you enter that system, you are statistically going to die. That's not a joke. There's no fear mongering.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. That's absolutely true.
It's very real. I've seen it firsthand, and just look at the studies, look at the numbers. It's 496 people a day, and that was like the last census taking. So it's probably even more than that now. So you really have to take ownership.
So it's like Josh said. I mean, how can you guys complain about a company that's going to do it right from the beginning? How do you compare a cost from somebody that has zero equity or skin in the game, which is most of these people, most of these guys you're trying to get, scripted or trying to use because you saw an advertisement on television. They're all over. There's that company, and Aaron and I were talking about the other day in Atlanta now, and they're like, oh, it's $2.99 a month, and it's unlimited. You get your test and your ancillaries and your syringes, and I'm like, what the fuck? You're going to go down these pathways if you're trying to save $1. It's like the difference between buying a Yugo and an Audi. You get what you pay for. But this is not a car where you can just trade it in and fuck up your credit. This is your life. This is your health. This is that one body that you get to carry as your vessel through this existence. So why does it become so hard, as Josh said, for you to think that you're paying too much money for the only thing that fucking matters, which is your existence and how you feel, right? I mean, what do we all desire to do every morning? We desire energy. We desire to wake up, feel good, and carry on through the day.
It's a cop-out, right? It's because they don't want to level up in their health. So it's such an easy excuse. And we see it in so many people's aspects of, all aspects of their life, right? So, Aaron, we do have a question, though, from Adam Wallace about the statistic that you just gave, which is his question is that because of misdiagnosis, lack of knowledge, or what?
The real reason, if I'll pull my tinfoil hat on, is it starts with the medical education system.
Right.
So you're going in from a perspective of the pharmaceutical companies. They hide data all the time. This is no secret. It's just a numbers game. It's Russian roulette. There's false positives. They're very trigger happy in regards to procedures once you enter that system, and you just follow the money from that point on. That's my best guess. There's a certain threshold where the risk becomes your life becomes worthwhile for the risk of something, and it's a numbers game at that point, and it can be attributed to something else. I don't think people are really looking at the data on that as hardcore as they should be. I would like to touch upon something real, really powerful that Jay was talking about is a lot of people, it needs to be said about a lot of these clinics, if you can even call them that, is the places that are specifically targeting and just saying that they're low T this or testosterone center. You cannot just segment your hormones and endocrine system as a separate unit entirely. Those days are done. These are all integrated systems. Inflammatory markers, your thyroid, your hormones, everything is completely interrelated. And if you want to just focus on your testosterone and have people looking through that, microscopic lens of just that, your outcome's not going to be good. If you want, you might as well just do super physiological testosterone get yourself at that point. You need to really be looking at the entire circuit of how everything interrelates, because it's likely not just the hormones. That's the beginning. That's the first step. And then you have, your thyroid integration, there's vitamin mineral deficiencies. But here's the funny part of everything is the order is, and we're just really starting to look at this information, how important it is. And the order and sequence of how you treat things is imperative, because if you ever grow plants, or you ever I was talking to someone that was a medical marijuana grower, and they talk about the three things that kill pot plants more than anything is too much light, too many nutrients, and too much water, too much of it. So you have to have the perfect gradation. Now, if you look at the human body, we're inverse plants. We're upside down plants, literally. Instead of light, we have hormones. We have testosterone. So if you look at testosterone and estrogen and progesterone and these hormones as light molecules, and then how we actually integrate and create carbon dioxide and oxygen, you'll realize that, just focusing on nutrients and taking too much magnesium or too much of these other things will actually cause you to degrade and die as an inverse plant. So you really need to focus on optimizing the hormones, then getting the other things, the light, the soil, the nutrients, which is what you are. You came from the earth. It's not a secret,
No, it's true.
I'm kind of curious when it comes to, when to have success with TRT, right? Now, I've always been blessed because, Jay's been my mentor for a lot of years. And before I got into TRT, I was working with Jay and had my diet really dialed in. And ever since we're working with you as well, Dr. Grossman, I know you spend so much time on it. Like, you get my lab work and you're like, dude, cut out this, get more of this. I mean, you spend so much time on nutrition. You've got a lot of these other clinics or whatever that these physicians know nothing about nutrition, right? It's not, I don't know what the amount of hours are spent in medical school on actual nutrition.
It's an elective course. I'm not joking. It's a 4-hour elective course online.
So, cause like I have a good friend of mine that's like 300 pounds and he's on TRT, right? And I'm not saying that I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but they're not focusing on anything else but giving them a weekly shot, and they're giving them 1 weekly shot with TRT. So can you talk about the importance of that? And just so those that like think that, hey, dude, this is that magic pill,
right?
Right? Because it can kind of be, I guess, it can be revolutionary if it's combined with the right other things.
That's an excellent point. It's like the plant analogy. So if that guy, he's taking probably way too many nutrients and he's getting all kinds of conversion and estrogen and testosterone from other sources. I mean, he's probably got all kinds of other issues. His liver's probably got fatty liver, 100%.
Yeah.
He's in a too much light scenario. So you give him testosterone, what's going to happen is that light's going to splinter off into a new, prism, and he's going to have all these estrogen issues. Right. So, that's someone that really needs to focus on the diet and nutrition and the simple math, go on a metabolic blowtorch diet, take in, go and get your macros, micros. That's not really my forte, but, that's something else that someone really needs to focus on before coming from a hormonal perspective. 100% he's got a hormonal issue that'll be uncovered, but have you done the simple stuff first before bringing in the big guns?
Well, Josh, you bring up a great point. I mean, I don't want to go off the deep end here, but I mean, that's the breakaway or the segue or the kind of breaking point of modern medicine. If you're not blessed to work with a physician like Aaron or Chet, and of course, there's other guys out there, of course. There's other women and men that are very good progressive physicians. They understand nutrition is a huge component. They do, recommend, they look for, mineral and nutrient deficiencies and stuff like that. And so they do go down those paths. But the majority, as you said already, Josh, and of course, Aaron, it's a 4-hour elective. are not chasing that path. And especially the older doctors, when you get guys, and again, I'm not here to disparage old guys, but when you're a doc and you're a 60-year-old guy or older, a boomer, there is absolutely zero investigation into nutrition. It doesn't even it's not even a thought process. So forget it. But you're right. I mean, these are things that have to be thought out, and that's where usually the major disconnect is, because you're right. Testosterone cannot be the panacea that we like to sing it or make it out to be, when all the other life processes are not dialed in, which is nutrition, which is exercise, which is modulating, caloric intake. I mean, there's all these other factors that come into play. And you're right. So many people, especially with fat guys, if I use that, as a general term, because again, we wrote about this in the book, Aaron, and I know we're working on it right now, but a lot of doctors do write a script for, obese men who have, metabolic disorder and obviously class 2 type hypogonadism, because they know that testosterone is lipolytic, and testosterone is lipolytic, which means it's fat burning. It increases thermogenesis, increases metabolism, basic metabolic rate. But you do have to do all those other things. You can't, as Josh said, you can't just take it and expect it to be a magic bullet and continue to live your quote unquote fat guy lifestyle and expect it to work miracles, because it won't. So you're right. Again, testosterone is literally just a bump. It's just a small little adjunct to a clean lifestyle, one that we all preach and espouse, one that, is part of the check program. And it just enhances, it makes people better. It optimizes health, but until you get the other things dialed in, and again, we've done multiple podcasts on this stuff, you're just going to be spinning your wheels, head kind of in the sand, because there's nothing magic about any of the stuff or the things that we talk about.
And I'll tell you a little secret that the more we look at this, and really the only doctor that I've seen firsthand that does this, and you were talking about the boomers, is Dr. Brett Osborne is incredible at this. I got to give him amazing props for reading his book, because he's seen it firsthand.
Yeah, but he's not a boomer. Remember, he's
a Gen Xer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's not a doctor. So I mean, I'm not classifying him, but actually, I would probably say Dr. Life. Because I get all of his emails, and he's now 72 years old, and But I didn't mean to cut you off, Aaron. But you're right. There are not many. They're not many.
It's very rare to see the ones that have the clinical acumen and then discuss the correlation with nutrition. But the secret is testosterone is really just the first step. It's not the end all be all.
Absolutely.
Really, the most important thing is your GI dysbiosis at the end of the game. I mean, if you could affect any aspect of your life, it's all pretty much building up to small intestinal bowel overgrowth and the dysbiosis, and getting that whole GI flora under control. That's really the most important thing at the end of the day. But that's a very long process to get to that point, because you got to dial in the hormones, the thyroid. Otherwise, you're washing away the gains from the dysbiosis aspect of things. But
that's why we sing the holy trinity of hormone optimization, metformin to work on that, thyroid optimization where there's a clinical necessary need, and then all three of those things working together, will quote unquote neutralize or minimize inflammation over time.
Absolutely. I mean, and you guys listening to this right now are never going to hear this. Probably for the next, I would bet in the next 50 years, the medical community will never discuss any of those three things.
Right, because there's no profit.
Yeah.
All right. So Adam asks, does your testosterone increase naturally when one loses body fat and gets their diet and exercise dialed in?
Absolutely not. If there's any, so there's anything that happens from cleaning up your life. And again, Aaron, correct me where I'm wrong here, but obviously I'm doing a lot of research on this right now. This is, by the way, Adam, that's a fucking amazing question. And thank you for asking it. A lot of guys believe, and again, Aaron, I want you to jump in and just, cut me off if I'm sounding like an idiot, but a lot of people believe that cleaning up their life, who have abused their life and have, like you said, the gut biome issues and the disproportion, they've got all those issues. They think if they all of a sudden at 40 or 50 clean up their health and start exercising, that their testosterone is going to be optimized. No.
Well, I'm a prime example of that, Jay. Like, I mean, I was, obese in my early 20s. I'm in my mid to late 20s. I overcame obesity. I lost over 100 pounds. And I mean, by the time I met you, I mean, I think I was, 4 years into I mean, clean you can get
Yeah.
with eating and working out. And I know I sent you the blood work when I first got done, but I think I was like 311.
Yep.
Right. And that's when I was like 32 years old. And,
Yep.
and that's, 4 or 5, I don't know exactly how many years, but it was a good 4 years at least of being in damn good shape. And
yeah, and you were already lean. Yeah, you were. I mean, you already had the physical makings and the aesthetics of a guy who's in great shape. If somebody saw you walking around in public, you'd be like, "Damn, that dude's jacked. He's in good shape." So that's a great point. The reality is that too many people read these bullshit books that they find on Amazon. They take Tongkat Ali. They take all these quote unquote fake, scandalous quote unquote testosterone boosters. What's the bullshit that's the guy who's on YouTube, that breaks open his shirt by Vitalix or Vigenics.
Oh, Jesus.
That scam is. I mean, there are so many men, and again, I don't want to ignore women because we can talk about that too, but there are so many men that fall prey to this bullshit that taking testosterone is bad, immoral, illegal, whatever, and that you should do this naturally. Because it's not going to improve naturally. Now, again, I don't want to misquote myself because this is all in my book. You can initiate a new lifestyle change or overall lifestyle change, and you may improve, especially if you work with Aaron. And Aaron can speak to this. Now, and I'll just say that right now. I'll set him up. Aaron could take a patient or a person who becomes a patient who is just eating like shit and treating their body like shit for 30 years, 25 years. And he can institute massive lifestyle changes, nutrient therapy, mineral therapy, certain medications to optimize his thyroid. And guess what? You're probably going to have somewhat of what I would call a dead cat bounce, and your testosterone will come up a little bit. But if your testosterone is fucking so low, you're class 2 hypergonadal, you're literally like 100 points, 125, 150, 170. Okay, maybe it comes up 100 points. You're still nowhere near where you want to be to live the life that we espouse. Okay, so let's just be honest with that. And this is happening to more and more younger men due to the environment. That's what we're focusing on in the book right now. We're putting in the studies. And guys, it is so bad right now in America and all over, in China and in UK and in Germany. It is so bad. The environment is so polluted and corrupted with phytoestrogens, soy, emasculation nation. I mean, this is just destruction. And it's not just men. This is fucking up females' hormones too. Okay? We are in a society where you cannot avoid this. It is unavoidable. Again, as we always say, unless you live in the wilderness of Montana or in the Dakotas and you have nothing for hundreds of miles around you, there's no possible way you can avoid this endocrine disruption. You can't. So the only way that you can honestly be proactive and take control of your health is to look into getting your blood work done, obviously, first, and then looking into optimizing. This is just so silly at this point. This isn't about, I have to replace my body's natural production for life and I got to stay on testosterone. Dude, you don't have any. We're painting a picture that shows that you cannot survive in this polluted landscape unless you consider doing this. Do you want to add to that, Aaron?
Well, here's the real talk, all right? If you're on the fence about testosterone, that's just the beginning, because once that's taken care of, there's all kinds of other things that are being destroyed right now. Your thyroid is being wiped out by phthalates, by halogens. I mean, it's just the beginning. If you're a woman, you've probably been taking birth control for a decade plus. You've been in a menopausal state. You've been a 50-year-old woman for half your life before menopause. So getting your hormones optimized is just maybe the first of 3-4 steps you got to take.
It's so true. I mean, honestly, dude, that's great. That's awesome that you said that, because we don't ever talk about that. I mean, you're right, guys. I mean, it's the first step.
So then with some of these ways to get natural levels up, like the first physician I worked with put me on a ton of Clomid, never felt worse in my life, got off, but my levels, were high, right? Well, but as soon as I got off, I ended up going on TRT, but will that sustain? Or will you always be kind of dependent on like a Clomid or an HCG?
Good question. You want to answer that, Aaron? I mean, most likely you're going to be dependent on the medication. Because if you go off and you're still living the same lifestyle like Aaron talks about, it's still lifestyle factors. There's all these, integration and synergies with other hormonal and biological systems. So if you're down for some reason at some point in your life, and obviously the earlier, the most likely that the chain is going to continue, to reoccur over time when you cessate therapy or you come down off of it. So yes, it's going to go back to normal, which is
you put it well in your book, as far as it's like insulin. If you're diabetic, you're going to have to take, well, unless you reverse it, which you can, but unfortunately with testosterone, because of the environmental issues that we've talked about before, unless you're taking hardcore, estrogen blockers, which cause more damage than the testosterone themselves, you're going to have to be on it. Now, there are people that are on the cusp and you don't chase the labs, you chase how you feel. So there are some people that have, double-digit DHEAs or, have massive SHBG, sex hormone binding globulin, that's blocking them. They may be able to respond well. They might be able to take some compounds and bounce back. But the God's honest truth is, why would you want to go back?
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Okay, a couple questions here. John says, good point on nutrition. I've been in anti-aging clinic for years. Just started with Checked with Dr. Grossman, informed me on low omega-3s, folate problem, and reverse T3. Looking forward to starting my new treatment. Thanks, Doc. So that was an awesome comment. Adam asks, because you talked about the GI flora, does metformin get the GI flora under control with proper diet?
So in theory, yes, it's going to take some time. You want to talk a little bit about that, Aaron?
Yeah, what we're finding with metformin is it's a little more of like a thermonuclear option. So it will kind of reset the flora and then allow the space for the good bacteria. If you are putting the sauerkraut, probiotics, things like that, it doesn't inherently have any probiotic quality. No. It's just basically clearing out the dysbiosis. So it's one of the tools in the armament to utilize with, one thing we're doing right now, and I actually just completed it, was a Go Lightly cleanse. So I did a complete GI reset with basically the stuff they give you for a colonoscopy, and you're on the toilet for 3 hours and you clear out everything. And I did a whole reset with oregano oil. We're testing out a whole sequence right now with some metformin. So, I've noticed a significant leaning out in my abdominal region, significantly from this one reset. So we're definitely going to be exploring that as part of the protocol. It's bizarre. You're going to have to spend a whole day on the toilet, but you're literally clearing out your entire, you're doing a complete GI reset.
Well, one thing to Adam's question, I want to add, I know we answer these questions over and over. For some of these people, they probably are laughing because they've heard us before. But it's a good point because, and I always want to say this, we get a lot of complaints from, clients and people that we talk to and stuff online that, they get the nausea or the abdominal or the distension, that horrible feeling of, oh my God, why is this happening? Why do I have gas? Why do I have this, belchy feeling? Well, that's what metformin, as you said, it's a thermonuclear option. That's what it's doing to a bad diet. So if you're one of those people that takes metformin and you just I can't take it, it killed me. Well, guess what, dude? Your diet sucks. Because that's what that stuff is doing, is it's changing the pH level of your gut biome. It's like you said, it's a thermonuclear option. It literally is going to go in there and neutralize the horrific shit that you have growing.
Literally.
Literally, it's killing whatever kind of bacteria and God, I don't even want to get into it. It's growing down there. So, if you're one of those people, you just got to give it more time, but more specifically, you got to start eating better, man.
And you're a huge proponent of the intermittent fasting, and there really is so much data to showcase how important that is, because if you look at, we're in this constant feeding cycle. Food can stay in your GI gut for like a whole week. It's just toxins building up. You never get a chance for these villi, these little finger projectiles in your colon, your intestine. They're supposed to heal. They have to regenerate tissue. So there's literally, fecal matter and toxins that are not being able to crush over, and it'll actually devour itself and heal. You need to have a full day every so often to actually regenerate a lot of that tissue.
Well, it's, remember what Jim talked about that, Josh, and I know you guys eat all organic and grass-fed, but I used to eat a lot of ground turkey. And I could never lose that layer of fat that would like hang down. No matter how lean I got, down around my like navel supply region. And as soon as I eliminated, and that's what it is, Aaron, you're right. The pesticides, the chemicals, the shit that's in your bowels from eating food that is laden with all these, phytonutrients, soy, all this horrific stuff. It won't go out. Like you said, it will not come out of your body or your system without a lot of work and, bowel, obviously horrific bowel movements. I mean, like you said, colonic cleanses and stuff like that. There's a lot of work that needs to go in to get rid of this shit.
Yeah. So, hey, Dr. Grossman, you mentioned something about oregano oils, right? So when I was on Paul Burgess, right, I did that intolerance test, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's a yeast some type of a yeast that grows in the gut.
Cervus something?
Or Candida.
Yeah, Candida. I had a trace amount of that, and he had, or I'm still on him. I'm taking a whole month's supply of. There was 2 supplements he told me to that could knock it out in 30 days, right? And one of them's the oregano capsules or whatever he gave. I mean, can you talk about the benefit of that, and should people introduce those regularly? Whether that's saying you take a 30-day supply a couple times a year.
My dad actually had, he's the one that taught me about this, because growing up he had a lot of candidiasis issues from growing up. And, he was into the nutritional space, and he would take, mass doses of oregano oil. Oregano oil, you got to take, I think it's like over 600 milligrams, for it to have the microbial activity response. But, it definitely has antimicrobial effects. The problem is getting through that layer. If you're eating all this nonsense, you really have to create the environment with either the cleanse or, with fasting and the proper nutrition to allow the antimicrobial response to happen. It does have an anti-fungal aspect of it also, but there's some information out there. There's some data that shows that it's possible to give people small doses of antibiotics, and to give them antibiotics that actually just work through the colon, like vancomycin, just to kind of clear out the to do a cleanse. And it's relatively safe for the most part. I mean, hopefully that doesn't happen. But there are stool cultures, and we're actually testing it out right now. I'm working with a company called Ubiome, and I'm going to do a stool sample, just get a full workup. I don't have the kit in front of me right now, but to see if we can get
stool sample.
Yeah, let me get the sample right here. It's funny how that soy stuff became like a pretty powerful meme online.
Yeah.
The word's getting out on deep soy, so to speak.
Yeah, well, so I would just say, Adam asked a follow-up question. I'll answer it. He said, should you be taking probiotics with metformin? Absolutely, yes. You should always be taking probiotics. If you don't take a probiotic supplement, you can eat, what is it that Jim always recommends? Kimchi, or what's the other stuff that he always
Sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut, the fermented sauerkraut. But
kefir's good also.
Yeah, kefir. Yeah, that's amazing. There, any of that fermented stuff that has the millions or hundreds of millions of cultures of the probiotics. But I wanted to just add about, because you talked about fasting and metformin and changing the gut biome. Any person in America or the world that watches this, is listening, can change their gut biome in a matter of 30 days. Okay, there's 2 ways, and this is the 4-person's way to do it. You start as Adam. I can't even think of your name. Aaron. Jesus Christ. You say you do exactly what Aaron says. You start practicing by fasting. Fasting is a simple technique. You stop eating at 6 o'clock at night. That's your last meal, or say 7, and then you don't eat again until 12 o'clock. You have a coffee, whatever. No cream in your coffee, or milk, or sugar. You drink a cold coffee, or you take EMF, and you start doing that. And you make a part of your life where you literally go 12 to 14 hours of no eating, okay? And then the second thing you can do, again, this is the poor man's way to change your gut biome. No carbohydrates at 6 o'clock. Very simple. Twofold. You stop eating at 6 o'clock, so that's your last meal, so say 6 to 7, that's when you eat, and then you don't eat again until 12 o'clock the next day. Anyone can do that. And then secondarily, and maybe most important, no carbohydrates at that 6 o'clock meal. So what I mean by no carbohydrates is I don't want you to eat a giant baked potato or starch or cereal or bread you eat green beans and a salad and a big ass chunk of meat, whatever that is, whether it's red meat, turkey, chicken, fish, whatever, eggs. If you do those 2 things in 30 days, you will change your gut biome, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's crazy. I mean, just damn, dude. I mean, I had so much resistance to intermittent fasting, right? Because I came up with the knowledge base of, your body. Protein every 2 to 3 hours, do all this. When he kept hitting me, I'm like, dude, man, I want to gain some muscle, man. I'm going to intermittent fast, dude, I mean, I've never felt better, right? I mean, if I could figure out, it's a psychological issue for me, but if I could figure out how to get myself through with only weight training, resistance training 3 days a week compared to, 4 or 5, man, and to be able to intermittent fast 4 days a week, dude, what would you recommend, Jay? I mean, once the gut biome's cleaned up, because I train 5 days a week. Right. So I make sure I fast on the weekends, or if I've got a lot of meetings, which may come up once a month or whatever, where I got to skip a day during the week, I intermittent fast there. But is 2 days intermittent fasting sufficient? If you're still eating clean?
For changing your gut biome, yeah, not for like body fat loss. I mean, as long as we define what the goal is, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're one of those guys like you're a high powered, entre, you got so many commitments during the day, you can't break your schedule. Because I know a lot of people, and Aaron and I have talked about this when we're doing the metabolic blowtorch diet. A lot of people actually have a lifestyle, wage slaves, who literally can train at lunch, right? So if your meals are, okay, your fasting window is Monday through Friday, you work, and you're a 5-day-a-week trainer, well, you train with weights 5 days a week. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Your lunchtime is training. And you're bringing your Tupperware meals, and you're eating as soon as training's over at your office 2 or 3 times or whatever, and then eating one big meal when you go home, eating clean, not eating carbs, hopefully, and you can get ripped and big and put on size and all those things and look great. So that's a way to do that. But for people like you, have commitments, between 12 and 2, you can absolutely fast all day on the weekends. I mean, Josh could literally say from 6 o'clock till 6 o'clock on Sunday night, 6 o'clock Friday night, I'm only eating a couple of times. I'm getting 200 grams of protein or 160 grams of protein a day, and I'm only going to eat twice. And, you're in quote unquote almost mild form of ketosis in that amount of time. Yeah, you can definitely, the one thing that we always underestimate, and this is why Aaron says it's so perfect, the data is out there, is the neuroprotective effects of fasting are insane. I mean, it's literally like a vacuum or a fumigation for your neurotransmitters when you fast. I mean, literally, that's what it's happening. That's why people say they go into like altered states and they have like the stillness connection when they're deep into fasting, because literally it's clearing out all of those pathways and making you perform better. It's definitely increasing focus and peak mental awareness. So that's like one of the great effects of that. But to answer your original question, you absolutely can, dude. I don't think you can get shredded or super reduced body fat by doing it less than 4 days a week. But you definitely can change your gut biome by doing it a couple of days. Definitely.
Love it. All right. Well, I know we're running late on time. I can't see if my computer's messing up. I don't know if there's any last questions in there or not.
Yeah, one more. So Aaron, answer this. So taking fish oil supplements that thin a person's blood, causing faster than normal heart rate. Great question. Great question, Dennis.
I mean, it depends on what other compound. If you're taking Coumadin or something like that with it also, or I doubt it would make that much of an effect. If anything, it would help the contractility of your heart. Sure. It would help the electrical impulse. So that's actually an interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Dennis, that comes down. I agree with Aaron. I think that comes down to if you're taking other kind of specific medications, especially like heart medications or some form of vascular medication. I think that maybe there's always like a combination effect, for certain things. And, it should be contraindicated on the bottle if you are taking those medications. That is a good question, though.
It will thin your blood. I mean, you will. I've gotten nosebleeds to the point where I took so much fish oil before, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, can you take other things to counteract that, like vitamin K or
yeah, K2. Yeah, absolutely. It's just some people. He probably should get like a prothrombin test or something. You might, if that's a concern, you probably might have a familial defect, especially if there's any kind of clotting disorder. It's very common. So I would get that checked out.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Sounds good, you guys. Well, those of you who are watching and listening, we truly appreciate you guys being here. As always, definitely go check out www.checkmybloodwork.com. Again, that's Check's website where you can go out there. Even if you're not like to that point where you're like, dude, I'm going to go out there and get my blood work and go with that. Check Dr. Grossman's team recently set up where they're willing to do no pressure, no hassle, just over the phone consult with you, right? To just to talk about what your questions, maybe your concerns, your personal situation, because look, I mean, we kind of go on rants on this show, but we understand that it also, it's a big decision. And I'm not going to lie. And Jay can tell you, dude, I mean, I probably fought Jay on this for half a year. so like, I get it, dude. Right. So, but if you have other questions, still www.checkmybloodwork.com. You can set up a free phone consult. And I can tell you guys right now, these guys aren't, they're not sales guys like Jay and I, right? They're not going to be, pounding you on the phone to
much to my chagrin.
Yeah. Right? So definitely check it out. And again, you guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Hey, real quick announcement too. I just wanted to say July 21st, New York City. I mean, guys have seen it on the wall. Aaron, myself, and Jim, and I think Alexander are going to be in New York City at a big open air event to talk about all the things that we're talking about. Maybe Josh will even fly in. I doubt it. I didn't invite him because he's so busy, but he's obviously welcome to come in. But if you're in the New York City area, please, spread the love. It's totally free. We're going to be giving away samples of our products. Aaron's going to be giving away blood labs. Obviously, I'm going to be giving out signed autographed copies of the book. So, again, July 21st. I forget the name of the place. It's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's all over Facebook. So
the beer garden at the Standard,
near
Highland Park and Meatpacking.
Yeah, so we're going to have a ton of people. So, again, if you're in that area, we'd love for you guys to come out. So hopefully we can see you. But thank you, guys. Great show.
All right, you guys. See you next time.
See you.